minutes after the start time for people to get in. So rather than the door keep opening and closing, we'll just wait a couple of minutes. A quick bit of product placement. You're very familiar with product placement. Little P in the side of your TV screen. If any of you are thirsty, we have some lovely Lifeline water, courtesy of Lifeline. We have an ample supply at the front and more at the back. And from our friends at White Fibre, we have the fabled jelly beans. So again, there's some of these at the front and more at the back. So you can happily drink and munch as we go through the presentation. Lots of these available on both of their stands. So that's good, isn't it? I get £10 every time I mention White Fibre. Probably a similar agreement with Lifeline, but Mark hasn't worked that one out yet. So we'll just be a couple of minutes, and then we'll get into the presentation as well. So just if we give it a couple of minutes.
Hello. Yeah. Don't worry about
Just waiting for a few more people to come down at the Lakeside Hotel for the e-commerce expo, and they will be presenting shortly. So while there's a little delay, I'll see that bringing these sometimes based on the underlying actually so please keep watching. Yeah, we'll be being around the exhibition over 60 exhibitors here at the Lakeside Hotel, a lovely venue for the Business Expo. And the expo is being supported by the White Fibre and the sponsors, the arts, civil sponsors, and the brochure. So this is a bit impromptu because I thought they always began to start and I started the broadcast to make sure. So this is another one for the Business Expo here, supported by White Fibre. The hashtag for Twitter is hashtag IWBizExpo, and there we have the Chamber of County Press across print media, helping put this on. And hungry, let's see what I can tell while we're waiting. There's a pack here, so let's there's Mark of Life responsible for on the side there.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We've all had lunch. Did everyone have lunch here? Yeah. Nice lunch, lasagna, chips, garlic bread. Thoroughly enjoyed it. So we're all in mode now. As I say, we have water from Lifeline. Ka-ching.
Another £10.
Yeah, another £10. And of course the White Fibre jelly beans. But we're here for more than that. I'm Dale Howarth. A lot of you will know me, maybe one or two don't. I work with quite a lot of businesses here on the island, some such as White Fibre, Lifeline, which we mentioned, people like Bump Express, with John at the back as well. PC Consultants, very close to them as a business, so many of you will know me through my work with those businesses and a number of others. Work with businesses on the mainland, largely as a mentor, and I do a lot of presenting, lecturing, speaking at business events. Some are smaller workshops such as this, and they get through to some quite large events where we're talking hundreds and in some cases thousands of delegates. I'm fortunate today to be joined by Amanda Rosewarne. If you can just say hi.
Hi.
Amanda is very important. Amanda is the director of CPD Standards Research in London. And we're going to go through a presentation, talk about the mini MBA programme, and you'll hear one or two insights from people that are actually on that programme, because it's fine for me to say how good it is, really important that people who experience it can give you their honest views as well. And Amanda's going to expand a little bit on CPD and the real benefits and a bit more about the organisation itself. It's about 30 minutes for the presentation, so not too long, and then we can take any questions at the end. And obviously myself, Amanda, will be around afterwards, and we're both very easy to contact as well. In terms of the programme, it's different from many programmes that are out there because it blends practical insights within this sort of broader understanding of the business world. So it focuses on real issues. So one of the key things with the mini MBA, it's practical. You can come away from modules and actually start to apply it into your business straight away. It's not something where you have to complete the whole course, or where it's very theoretical based, and therefore you actually can't quite pinpoint the value or why it might be relevant to your particular business. It looks a lot at team working, and we see that within the modules as the different cohorts and groups work together, and you make some very good connections through that as well. One of the things we found on the programme is how businesses have started to engage with each other, so it's been a good business development opportunity as well. We also have enrichment modules, so whilst a lot of the course is set, the 4 core modules, which we'll look at in a minute, there's an optional sort of 5th module. You can choose within that which you choose to do, so that can suit maybe some deficiency you feel you have, something you want to understand more about, and completing all of that then gains the mini CPD, the MBA CPD accredited programme. Who it's aimed at, and it's a common question that comes up, is this really for me? But it's aimed at a whole raft of people. So it's aimed at people that are new to business, maybe people moving into more managerial roles for the first time, or directorships, and we have people on the programme that are doing that. It's people who maybe started businesses and now need to understand more of the core fundamentals of running a business, the core management issues, how to manage people, look at business development, some of the finance aspects. So it's really to give them that grounding that they didn't maybe have. And also people that are maybe looking to do a fuller MBA course. That's a big undertaking. I did my MBA many years ago at Cranfield. It is a massive undertaking. It's a massive commitment in terms of time, both within the lecture theatres and also away from there. And it's not something that's suited to everyone. This gives people an opportunity to understand the framework and then to look at moving forward, but also to use the mini MBA as a way of getting onto a fuller MBA programme, where there are often entry requirements, and we're already talking to 1 or 2 universities who want to use this as a way of bringing people into their fuller MBA programs. So it's something that has real value. Fundamentally, it's aimed at anyone who just wants to develop their career or understanding of business. So it is open to anyone. There's no particular entry requirement. The real commitment is that you want to be involved with it and you want to learn. As I say, no formal qualifications needed. It's just a case of having that real commitment of wanting to be involved. And the course is real. When we did this presentation last year, it was just something that we wanted to achieve. And at Expo last year, we were bringing together the first of the sort of cohorts. And the first cohort is that group. They're 1 or 2 of the people that are here within the room. And we came together at the Chamber to really get that first cohort underway, and it's been very, very successful, and we have a 2nd cohort running. We're currently bringing a 3rd cohort together at the moment. So this is a programme that's real, it's happening, it is adding value to businesses across the island in many ways that maybe people didn't initially appreciate, and it's something that you can all get involved in very, very easily. What I'd like to do, just very briefly, touching on that subject of maybe some of the bigger benefits and the things that people are learning and taking away from the course that maybe they didn't perceive initially, is I think Jonathan's in the room, Jonathan Thornton, Managing Director of PC Consultants. If you can just say a few words, Jonathan, about some of your experiences, it would be useful, I think, for everyone.
So, hi everyone, Jonathan Thornton, I'm Managing Director of PC Consultants. I'm also a Director of the Chamber of Commerce here, so I'm actually very proud about what we do here in the Chamber with the mini MBA scheme, but luckily also to be on one of the first cohort that came out earlier this year. For me as a business person, obviously I've grown up in a business, been with PC Consultants for several years now, and obviously we're very busy on the day-to-day, so it's been really good for me to take the time out to do some of these modules and actually externally look at our business. And ultimately we're a small business, we employ 18 people here on the island, but going into places like the management module was at Liz Earle in Ryde, and actually being able to go into a large business like that and see how a lot of the business practices and schemes and understandings that they have there really did work in our own business, and that was just really useful because normally we wouldn't get an opportunity to go into those sort of companies, meet with director level people, in this case Liz Earle, and spend the day with them understanding how their systems work. So that was really useful for me to get that, and yeah, it's been really exciting. You get to know all the people who are on the modules with you, and 3 modules we've done now in total, so yeah, about halfway through. It's been very useful for me so far.
Thank you. In terms of what you learn, Jonathan mentioned modules. There are 5 modules in total that you take to complete the full mini MBA. Each of those is independently accredited, assessed by CPD Standards Office. So each has value. At the end of each, you get a CPD certificate to recognise achievement of that module. So you don't have to complete all of them before you gain certification. There are 4 core modules. Everybody does the core modules. So we have the management module, which is led by Liz Earle. So as Jonathan said, going into a very corporate environment, we wanted that within the programme to see the standards that Liz Earle worked to, the methodology that they put throughout their whole business to engage with a broad cross-section of people from Liz Earle. And typically that happens either at the Greenhouse, the facility in Ryde, or Biskra House, and we've used both of those. I will say, from my point of view, I hate Liz Earle doing the management module because they spoil everyone rotten and it makes it very hard for everyone else that follows. So they lay lunch on an amazing way, everybody gets lovely name badges, and when you all leave you get a really nice goodie bag of Liz Earle products. So it's a really popular module and a very good one, but the standard is so high. The finance module, looking at all aspects of finance, but for non-finance managers, you don't have to be an accountant, you don't have to be an FD, it's the things you need to know in business around finance. Very good module there. Business development, the module I lead myself, looking at all aspects of business development, quite fast-paced, amusing at times, quite thought-provoking, aimed at giving you things you can take away and immediately start to implement to improve your promotion, the marketing, your business development. And the people module, looking at how we interact with people. Businesses are only as good as the people they employ, so bringing the right people in, nurturing those people, understanding how to develop teams is really important in any business of any size. So those are the 4 core modules. And then you have enrichment modules, and you can choose whichever is suitable. So we have customer service modules, we have presentation modules, because we're all required to present at some point, either within our business, maybe to financiers of the business, or out at industry events such as this. And then aspects like motivation, confidence, stress management, and so on. And again, these are optional. One of the things with the mini MBA is you can actually take enrichment modules without taking the full mini MBA. And that's for 2 reasons. One is the value of these is very broad and appeals to a lot of businesses. So there are some out there that would just like to do the customer service module, and so they're available to do that. But it's also a way of getting a taster, maybe, for the mini MBA, for those that think, oh, I'm still not 100% sure if I can make that commitment. So maybe they can look at just taking an enrichment module, and then that still counts towards their 5 modules. It just means they did the enrichment module first. So you've only then got 4 modules to complete the full course. Just looking at a couple of those modules in a bit more granular detail, the people module is led by Sean Foley. Sean has immense experience. You may know him from his company EQ2 Lead. He's worked with many significant brands and really understands the importance of people. Very popular module, looks at a whole lot of aspects. I won't read them all off the screen, you're all more than capable of reading the bullet points. But it's one of those that what came out of the course was actually the benefit. Hello.
Hi, sorry.
Hello, lovely to see you. Was really the benefit in your personal life as much as in business. It's interesting some of the feedback that's come from some of the students on the course to say actually some of this is applied in their personal relationships and how they relate to friends and families and loved ones. So that's been quite a nice attribute that's come out of it. The other part is looking at the management modules and also looking at how we conduct some of these. Just a few images. There's Sean, that was presenting at the Winter Gardens in Ventnor, which was excellent. In fact, we had far too good a lunch there. We already struggled to get back in the afternoon. Fiona Claxton there over at Liz Earle, that was at Biskra House. Much of the learning during each day is working together as a group. And then there's little times when we break out into smaller groups just to look at some particular aspect, to look at some question, then all come back together again. So it's quite a tight group as you're working together on each module throughout the day with the 4 sessions, some of it as a whole and some of it just as smaller work groups. In terms of Liz Earle, that's an image of the greenhouse. They run the management module. As I say, they spoil us terrible, but it's a really good day. And they're covering an awful lot. Key things we need to understand. your roles and responsibilities within the business, but those legal responsibilities. If Alison was here, Alison Colley, I know she's got a stand here as well, your legal lighthouse, as she refers to herself, which is very good. She can expand on some of those, and often she comes in and does a bit of guest lecturing on those, so she'll come in to give her insight for maybe 20 minutes or half an hour, specifically around the human resources side of things. Looking at your values as a business, how you collaborate with others and the importance of that. Liz are very well placed because a lot of what they do is collaboration, now parts of Boots. So of course they're collaborating a lot through Boots stores, they do a lot through QVC, massive online presence as well, and how strategy works to define that. And then aspects of emotional intelligence and your individual style as a manager, to understand how we relate to others and how others perceive us. And it's something that Sean expands on in the people module as well, quite a key component. Jump to slide. Back. At the end of the course, you'll do 5 modules, 4 core plus 1 additional module, and at the end of that there's a chamber certificate of completion, there's a graduation. We're starting an alumni, so everyone that goes through the mini MBA will be part of that alumni, which in itself has a lot of value. And as I said at the beginning, the modules themselves are CPD certificated. And this is not a throwaway. You know, one of the reasons I wanted Amanda to come down was to reflect the value of CPD. This isn't something where we fill in a form and write a check and send it off and, oh look, it comes back. You go through quite a lengthy process. We have to provide all the material for the course, all the background material, we have to provide bios for the lecturers, the guest speakers. Our work has to be properly referenced, so we can't just make things up that we present, it has to be properly sourced and referenced. It even goes down to looking at the detailing of the slides that are being used in terms of colour, in terms of font, how are they suited for certain types of disability, readability. There's a little bit of pre-course work, so for each module there's about an hour or so of pre-course, which is mainly reading. Something we'll send you in advance to say before you come on this module, just read this piece or think about this aspect of your business. And again, post-course, there's a small piece of work after that, really just to show that the work has sunk in and it's resonated with you. Very, very simple, but all of that goes up to CPD in London. They go through and carefully assess it, and they come back with lots of questions which I have to work with the lecturers to answer. Sometimes we have to adjust the material accordingly, but what it means is you're getting something to a recognised standard. This isn't just a group of people spouting off about what you should do in your business. This is recognised practice and something that CPD certainly add a lot of value to and are very passionate about. And at that particular point, I will pass over to Amanda and go the right way. I think the battery must be going. If we only had someone here with a technology background, it would be great. So if I introduce you to Amanda, who's going to talk a little about CPD, and you can press the buttons on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Dale, and thank you, everyone. Someone need to get that? So my name is Amanda. I'm the Director of CPD Research and Accreditation at the Standards Office, and Dale has very kindly invited me here today to give a little bit of background, not so much on the accreditation itself per se, but on what CPD is, why it's important, and how it's kind of used to develop skills within the workforce today. So our organisation offers accreditation of any form of learning that can be verified at the moment. So whether that's a training course like the mini MBA that we worked with Dale, or an online course such as a podcast or e-learning webinar, or more recently videos on YouTube sequenced or tweet chats. There's all sorts of new online sort of interventions for learning. And we also accredit events like these, similar expos, seminars, workshops, etc. And then also on an individual basis, we accredit anybody who's either a coach working with someone on a one-to-one basis to sort of develop their skills and kind of career pathways in a dedicated fashion, or perhaps as an accredited speaker, who Dale, an accredited speaker with us as well, who has particular area or expertise in certain fields and is often giving keynote presentations. And so what we do is work with the provider, as Dale just explained, to really understand what it is in terms of the learning experience you're actually giving to someone, and what makes you sort of educationally authoritative to be able to sort of impart that knowledge. And we come actually from quite humble backgrounds. So I'm one of the co-founders of the organisation, but my background originally was in occupational psychology. So I worked partly at Kingston and Warwick business schools within industrial psychology. So not the psychologist that sits down and psychoanalyses people on an individual basis and can read minds. I'll tell you, I'd be worth a lot more money if I could. But my interest and passion to a certain extent was, how do we get groups, or more importantly communities or whole professions, to be able to learn the skills that they need, or stop their official qualifications becoming outdated, and actually just stay afloat in today's world. Because as Dale just said, in organisations, people are our best asset. But we know from certainly the industries that we offer here in the UK, you know, we're 80% or so service economy now. So the organisations that really thrive within the sort of global workplace really that we're all in now through communications technology are those that are learning organisations, and are those that pride themselves on their staff and on making sure that their employees have the best equipment, but also thinking that they can. So the CPD Standards Office is actually under an umbrella organisation called the Professional Development Consortium. So on the one side we offer this accreditation whereby we verify learning content that's out there to basically try and provide a level playing field in terms of offering a benchmark that certifies something and says, yes, this is as good as it sort of says on the tin. But on the other side, another area of my work that we look after, we still continue to undertake research into new and better or different ways of undertaking lifelong learning. Because it's fair to say in this country, certainly, lifelong learning, it isn't really a big thing. Most people will undertake a formal qualification, or they'll go to university and get a degree or something like that, and then very much our psychology is that kind of, that's it. I've learnt everything I need to know, and now I'm going into the workforce. And as I said, you know, with the organisations having to work on the global platform that they are now, we actually need to think better. And for the first time ever, people are coming to work and they're starting to learn from the work they do, and not so much learning for the work that they do. So there's been this slight kind of reverse in terms of how people think and feel about their training at work. And I spent quite a lot of time in China when I was working in industrial psychology, and there it's very, very different. In the East, there is a huge aspiration for to be a teacher. So to be a teacher in China is as highly regarded as being a solicitor or an accountant, and students who go to university generally return most summers to their universities as alumni networks to carry on their learning. So this whole idea of education through your lifespan and through your career is very much cherished, and a world away from what it looks like here. So since we started about 5 years ago, I mean, we thought that this would be, you know, something that we could offer the professional bodies that might take up a little bit of time. We looked at creating it as a small department within Kingston Business School, who provided a lot of the funding. But then when we started the marketing, the phone rang off the hook. And so 5 years later, we are our own organisation. This is just a flavour of some of our members. So we work with small businesses, small training companies that offer sort of 1 or 2 flagship courses, through to people like Rosetta Stone or Google Squared, you know, sort of massive online corporate global organisations, through to NHS trusts, different charities such as Dyslexia Action and Scope, who use their expertise within their cause that they support to educate teachers or social workers or anybody else coming into contact who need CPD hours. And so today we've accredited thousands and thousands of activities, and we have over 750 members over the globe. So I found myself moving from what was quite an interesting sort of world where I was part academic and part consultant and lecturer to basically being managing director, stroke chief executive, stroke T-girl of this ever-growing organisation, and it's been a great journey. So what I just want to do is spend a couple of minutes talking about what CPD is, because as with most terms in business, it has many, many definitions. And one of the points that Dan made just earlier was about your core sort of providing people not with just better skills at work, but actually having a positive effect for them at home. I think what's quite interesting is that some people see CPD where the P is professional, but others think about CPD where the P is standing for personal. You know, and there is this whole idea that we bring our whole self to work. You know, there's nothing that doesn't touch. So all it is just a formula for making sure that your skills and knowledge are up to date, and you're doing it in some sort of formulaic or structured way. And where it comes from, where it heralds from, are the professional bodies and institutes. So in the UK now there is over 2,000 professional bodies, institutes, membership organisations that pretty much represent any role, any job you can think of. So some of the more traditional organisations, which you may have bumped into or indeed be a member of, are things like the Institute of Directors, the Royal Institute of British Architects, there's the Royal College of Surgeons, which is one of 17 Royal Colleges. And then also, we love a regulator in this country. If we can regulate it, the British do it. It's very much an Anglo-Saxon way of thinking. So as well as all of these professional bodies, we also have regulators which stop these naughty professionals misbehaving, supposedly, and keep them in line to protect them from the public. So you've got a very different agenda going on with the regulators to the professional bodies who are there to sort of champion careers. And you can see that the bodies that started, you know, a couple of hundred years ago, they all have these very lovely, almost majestic buildings now in central London. So we've got all of these regulators, all of these professional bodies, and none of them are worth their salt if they don't promote this idea of lifelong learning. So how many people in here are a member of a body? Yeah, a few hands. Yeah, okay. So can I ask you which one you're a member of?
As regards standards, or
yeah, just which
National Security Inspectorate.
Okay. So did you raise your hand? Do you remember a professional body?
Me, yeah, Institute Shelter Foresters.
Oh, Shelter Foresters. Yeah.
And Agricultural Association.
Okay, all right. And you raised your hand?
Institute of Chartered Accountants.
Yeah. Okay. ICAEW. Yeah. Really well. So. Pretty much they're alone, you know, but a huge diversity in what these professional bodies are representing. And as you'll know, if you become chartered with these bodies, whether that's because you are in a regulated sector and I don't know, say you're a doctor and you're doing medicine, so you'll do your degree and then you'll do your training afterwards, and eventually you'll sort of graduate fully as a chartered professional. In order to keep that chartership, you have to do a certain number of training hours a year. So using that example of a doctor, you have to undertake 50 hours CPD now as a medical professional. And you have to do that over a 5-year period and gather up 250 hours of CPD and then in order for you to be signed off and revalidated in order to continue to practice. Because there's this whole sort of idea that you wouldn't want to go and see a doctor, or indeed a solicitor or an accountant or anybody else, if they haven't done any CPD for 20 years. So there's all sorts of different ways that they structure the schemes, but broadly they will say, right, you've got to achieve a certain number of hours or a certain number of outcomes every single year to achieve this. Oops, this slide hasn't come out very well, I apologise. But this is the CPD policy for the Chartered Institute of Securities and Investment. So they're one of the financial services industry. And what we found when we were doing our original research was the professional bodies' ideas around CPD were great. They really, you know, were thinking positively about individuals' careers. But actually, the individual who was tasked with undertaking this 50 hours or 30 hours or whatever it was a year actually found it really onerous, really time-consuming, often quite irrelevant, you know, going to courses just to get the certificate at the end of it, And actually, the reason that people were undertaking CPD wasn't really the reasons that the policies have been set in the first place. So one of the things that we do within the Professional Development Consortium is promote our providers to the professional bodies, and we are sort of signposting, if you like, of all of these different activities that we've accredited, because it's very difficult, particularly now with the advent of online research, for certain training providers to just get the visibility that they exist. And it's all too easy if you type a management skills course for the large providers to come up with. And we've also got a different issue now in that, dependent on who you talk to, there's between 2 to 4 different types of generations in the workforce at the moment. And supposedly, I sort of sit on the fence here, those in the later stages of their career feel the need to learn in a slightly different way to those in the younger stages of their career. But you have this kind of push and pull mentality when it comes to, say, let's take the example of the doctors again, how a junior doctor might prefer to learn at the moment might be very, very different from an established doctor who's been practicing for over 50 years. So the policies and schemes are kind of very sort of widely set in terms of you can pretty much choose any topic that you want to in terms of doing CPD, but it's then how you log and formulate it. So, as I said, our research found that as an individual, it was difficult to sometimes find relevant things, to find things that helped you collaborate with other individuals. So often if you're a member of a professional body, you've got that relationship directly with them, and the post comes through your letterbox, not through your employers, and sometimes just finding other people who are members and who are local to you can be quite challenging. So what we've also done as part of what we do is really champion this idea that every single business, no matter what you do, whether it is, providing bricks through to Liz Air, Elle providing skincare, everybody has a story to tell. Everybody has knowledge of something that they are delivering, certainly within the service sector. And because we are growing into this kind of knowledge society, if you position yourself as this sort of educational thought leader, you can actually provide some pretty good CPD for people that are members of professional bodies. Collectively, the membership of the bodies in the UK is about 5 million people, and the workforce at the moment is just around 30 million, so it's about 15% of the population is expected to do CPD. But also, in our more recent work, we found that it doesn't matter if somebody isn't a member of a body. If you can get particularly young people interested and engaged in undertaking CPD regularly, no matter what qualification level they come out of the education system at, they're likely to be more employable, more confident, more aspirational within their roles. And so increasingly we've seen and worked with large employers where they're really starting to use their training investments wisely. So a lot of people ask us, well, what's the point of me becoming accredited? Why do I need to? It's not a necessity necessarily. And we say, yeah, no, that's perfectly understandable. I've asked some of our members actually in preparation for this presentation, well, why do you stay accredited with us? Because we have over a 95% renewal rate of our members, so what are you finding that our badge provides? And for many of them, it's a sharpening of their reputation and this kind of quality stamp that shows that they've had this third-party verification. Others find our networking events that we do in all up and down the country now, and online member webinars quite useful, and they get to connect with other similar businesses or businesses they've never thought of connecting with and providing sisterships. And finally, those that really get it right and that angle their training really well, if you're offering CPD to a profession such as, I don't know, chartered surveyors or foresters or whomever, the CPD requirements are annual. So every year that individual is shopping for more CPD and more training. And so for some businesses we've worked with, since they've become accredited, they've actually seen their sales increase. So they're the sort of key benefits overall. And we've just released actually a white paper. I'll email the link through today, or we perhaps can share it with you, which talks a little bit more broadly about what's happening at the moment with the advent of Brexit, the withdrawal of potentially of some of the EU funding that we're getting into our education research, and what sort of tipping point that will have for different funding streams for businesses, and the way that our education system is likely to change. So we'd be very happy to share that with you. And that's pretty much it. That's the whistle-stop tour of CPD and CPD accreditation. So I'll hand back to Dale. And,
hopefully that gives you a much bigger insight into the value of CPD. And one of the slides Amanda brought up there, I know we're here to talk about the mini MBA and the value that CPD adds to that, which it clearly does from what we've seen. Just from a personal note, I mean, enhancing reputation, I'm a CPD accredited speaker, one of a handful in the country. Certainly I've seen the benefit of that, and one example is January this year I was asked to speak at a pharmaceutical conference in Gothenburg, Sweden, and I inquired as to why they approached me as a speaker, and it's because I was a CPD accredited speaker. The interesting thing was the organisation concerned themselves didn't use CPD, but they saw it as a benchmark of quality. And that's one of the key things. So by undertaking CPD programs, things like the mini MBA course, you're getting something that clearly has a very good reputation behind it and very high standards. And I just want to ask Mark Lee, who's in the room, if you can stand up, Mark, and just give a little bit more of what you've really taken from the course, what you've really found.
Really, just to reiterate what Dale was saying, certainly with the MBA, were it not CPD accredited, then we probably wouldn't have entertained it as an organisation. So I'm taking part in the MBA personally myself as the Managing Director. I believe it's important for us to lead from the top, that sort of we're prepared to invest in ourselves. Then the more we invest in the workforce, then obviously we're going to lead by example as far as that is concerned. And it's really given me the opportunity to look at processes. One example, I thought I was a manager and a manager of people. I'm not. I'm a manager of a business and a manager of a process. We lead people. That was a massive insight for me, and that's one of the greatest things that I've picked up out of the MBA course so far. So certainly the accreditation, the CPD accreditation, gives it the kudos and it gives it the authority that had it not had that, then, as I said, we wouldn't have entertained it as an organisation.
Thanks, Mark. And of course we've got 2 cohorts running. There's a 3rd cohort that we're putting together now, and that's something which I'd sort of welcome you to come and join. And we're seeing the benefits of that for individuals and the course as a whole. So we recently had an event at Liz Earle, which was really celebrating the achievement of people within the 1st and 2nd cohort and some of the modules which they completed. So you've got pictures there of Paddy, and we've got Matt Jeffrey there from Brightbulb, and Hannah from Glanville's, others. Hayley, who I think is in the room. Are you here, Hayley? Just want to embarrass you with that lovely photo there. I know how much you love your photos, Hayley. Alan Marriott, of course, editor of the County Press. David Thornton, director of the County Press. Caroline Hurley, becalmed and finishing touches in cows. So you can see very broad cross-section of people from high-level directors within very established, very well respected and recognised businesses, through to some of the smaller businesses online that are really starting to succeed. Brightbulb is a very good example. Small business, it's Matt, it's Fiona, 1 or 2 associates they work with, doing great things, won a Chamber Award last year, just had QIB accreditation through the Chamber, all really good things, and that business that certainly is seeing some quite significant growth and success because the approach is right. That was just a group shot afterwards. You can see all the certificates. Some here I think get a little bit greedy with the certificates, I will add. But one of the nice things with this, you can take it at a pace that works for you. So if you want to fast track and you want to get through the modules as quickly as possible, you can do it in 3, 4, 5 months. If you want to take longer over it, you can take 12, 18 months, even 2 years to complete the full course. It works at a pace that works for you, the time you have available within your work life, creating the right balance between work and your home life. In terms of investment, the cost is phenomenally low, and I know it's easy for me to say that, and there's lots of reasons why. If you go online and you look at mini MBAs and you look at Leicester and others, you'll be looking at £3,000, £4,000, £5,000 to do a mini MBA, and it will be a 1 week's residential, which can pretty much disrupt your home life and your working life. Doesn't give the flexibility. The standards in some cases are not as high as that which we are offering. You won't find the Liz Earls of this world presenting big modules. You know, it's a very, very different proposition. And as chamber members, the investment is only £105 per module, so it's £525 plus the VAT, and that's it, for which you get an immense amount. And there's lots of reasons why we can do that. Companies are supporting it very, very effectively. So Liz Earl provide their training facilities, they provide us with the lecturers, there's no cost involved. Most of the lecturers committed to the programme give their time quite freely to it, because it's about us enabling businesses, it's about driving professional and personal development forward. And therefore that's reflected in a very modest investment. Even if you're not a chamber member, there's really not much of an increase. But clearly as a chamber member, I will say, if you only join the chamber to do the mini MBA course, you get your money back pretty much straight away anyway. So a bit of a flag wave for the chamber. Lots of value to the course. It is CP accredited and obviously also certificated by the chamber. It's structured, but it's flexible, so it works around you and your business. And it focuses on real issues, real case study, real examples of things. We're using experts in their field. This isn't, oh, who can we find that doesn't mind presenting? These are leaders in their field. If you look any of the people up that are presenting, they are the top of their particular profession. And the enrichment modules give you further flexibility and allow you to add other skills with it. And of course it takes us across the island, so we get to engage with other businesses that we may not normally see. And I know there's already been some direct business benefit. I've seen business cards change hands at some of the courses. And of course the investment is a fraction, a fifth of what you would typically pay for a very similar course with universities and so on. If you have any questions, I'm around for the rest of the day. I know Amanda is. I'm conscious we've got another workshop coming up shortly, which I'll just mention. If you want to know more, you can go to the Chamber website. There's a prospectus on there, and you can register your interest online. Equally, you can just contact me. I'm really easy to find. Type in Dale Howarth on Google. I'm all the first page, I'm most of the second. A lot of you will know me anyway. And I'm very happy to talk to any of you individually, to come out and meet with you, to see how this may work for you. A couple of quick call outs. One actually for Lynn Blackledge, who's sort of filming this online. We are online to the masses. Thousands of people watching this. I will call out to Lynn because she comes along to all these events. You know, she is there at everything and she puts a lot of effort into doing this, and you know, it is appreciated. Not everybody always says that. I want to thank everyone that sort of contributed here, Mark and Jonathan. Hayley, I didn't want to embarrass you. Amanda coming all the way down from London as well, and hopefully you're having a great expo. At 3 o'clock we have another workshop, I believe. Christopher?
We do indeed, yes, thanks for reminding me.
What's the subject?
It is social media, useful business tool or complete waste of time.
Yeah. I will say Chris is an excellent speaker and his workshops are very, very good. We have a constant battle every year as to who's going to get the bigger audience. I will say, I think Chris beat me last year. Not that I remember it or I'm in any way bothered about it, Chris,
are you going to count?
I just want to photograph my audience because just to make sure that we've got a very accurate record of exactly how many people I had.
I'll edit mine in later.
Are you going to count the global audience?
Am I going to count?
Are you going to count the global audience?
Yeah, which is about 20,000.
I'll give
so
it a push.
no, please, if any of you want to, please stay on. Chris will be doing a very, very good presentation. Lots of stands to see, and hopefully you've had a very good expo day. So as I say, please get in touch with me. Anything you need to know about the course, please don't hesitate to ask. And all I'll do is thank you very much for your time and let you get back to expo. Thank you.
So thank you folks for watching in. We're down here at Lakeside at the Isle of Wight Isle of Wight Chamber of Commerce Business Expo 2017, and that was one of the seminars. There will be 4 seminars throughout the day. I've done one recorded one already. I'm not sure whether I'm doing the other one. I will check. I'm very grateful for It's Nomad 9 for sponsoring these broadcasts. It's Nomad 9 is a digital media agency that puts social at the heart of your business. So thanks for watching now. Please come back again soon.